Give me your insights. I want the bets from Betting Weekly. Because we win, that is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show, Bet River sponsors. It's time to start, enjoy the show.
Welcome aboard to everyone. Have you got that Friday feeling? It's Betting Weekly Live with Steve Wyss and Jack Wright. And my man, Jack, how are you doing today?
Well, all the better for that jingle. What an intro. They just keep getting better and better.
We're saving it for you just for this show.
Oh,
and
what's the
I'm
Friday feeling? How are you, my friend? You good?
I am well, yeah. I'm going to an awards dinner this evening. Cricket League dinner in Harrogate. So I'll be all dressed up nice. I don't know if I'm going to win an award, probably not. But so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the club football being back, the international break. It's felt like a month to me, not 2 weeks. It really has. Yeah. This is a tasty Friday to get involved in. Although I always say this is the teams that are playing on Friday after an international break. I think they've drawn the short straw. This is a tough spot for them. Especially those that have had a lot of internationals. Welcoming everyone. Good to see you, Villa fan, J-Rod, Duncan, Byron, DM Punk. Great to see you all. And we've got some big matches on the soccer card to discuss today. 2 massive MLB games as well. Later on, I want everyone's thoughts about that. What are you betting on the MLB? I watched the Guardians game last night. One of the best games I've ever seen. I couldn't believe it. Some of the late drama was absolutely incredible in the playoffs there in the baseball.
Wow.
But we're going to start with my own team, Leeds United. A Yorkshire derby in the Championship. There's a lot of interest in this particular fixture tonight. So many different ways. A lot of bets on it. Leeds are the favourites, minus 120 with Bet Rivers. Sheffield United, to be fair to them, they are in great form. There's a lot of bad blood between these two teams. Between the manager of Sheffield United, Chris Wilder, is not particularly liked in Leeds.
By anyone.
To say it. Now, I'm going to start us off. I'll tell you a bet that I really like in this game, right, Jack? And this is the under 2.5 goals for me. Minus 124 with Bet Rivers. I can't get away from it because Sheffield United just don't concede many goals. I never like betting on Leeds after an international break. Like I don't know what it is since the Bielsa days, really. We struggle after these intervals. I mean, didn't help us last year. We had half of the Wales squad, to be fair. But usually a good fade of Leeds. I'm not going to fade us necessarily tonight, but I think the under here. I think a tight game. No one's going to want to lose. Sheffield United are defending well. And a little bit surprised that the under is as generous as it is. Minus 124. Would you agree with me or would you oppose me?
I'm with you all the way there, mate. Yeah, I absolutely make this a really tight clash. I've got a draw as my pick for this one, or my lean for this one. But I don't see many goals at all. Yeah, I think it's going to be a proper, feisty occasion. Obviously, it's an emotional one for Sheffield United. The George Baldock situation is going to be quite large there. So interesting to see if that plays any dynamic in the game. So that's another kind of sort of side issue to it, isn't it? But yeah, I think with Sheffield United's defence at the moment, I think now 1-11 is probably one of the best in the Championship. Once they start suffering some injuries as we get through the season, I think then they'll struggle. One massive problem for them tonight is Harry Souttar, who was playing for Australia. I watched him playing for Australia against Japan on Wednesday morning. And you talk about unlucky tight turnarounds. They don't get much tighter than that. He's got to travel back from there and playing on a Friday night away from home, albeit relatively local. But there, and he's a big part of that. Quite literally, a big part. 6'7", isn't he? A big part of that defence. So I think
he's a hard man to miss, isn't he?
He certainly is. Yeah. So I'm sure they'll be putting a bit of pressure under your goalkeeper after what happened last time out before the international break.
We don't even go there. Like, I couldn't believe what I was witnessing in that particular game. Charlie's saying perhaps injuries are stopping this not being a 2.25 line. Ethan Ampadu, of course, ruled out until January for Leeds. I don't think there's that many other confirmed absences necessarily, but a few niggles perhaps from the international break, which, there's always rumours of that. But
it's your two
Ampadu
CDMs,
is a
isn't it?
big
I
player.
think. Yeah, you Grueff and Ampadu missing. You're bringing in two players that aren't quite so defensively minded, so that back 4-5 aren't going to have so much of a screen as they would do normally. Gus Hamer, for me, one of my favourite players at championship level. Certainly, he's going to be a big player tonight. And I say you've got quite a strong Welsh contingent, haven't you? You've got your boy Roden up against Kiefer Moore. That's going to go. It's going to be a quite a physical aerial battle tonight. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. And then you got in your attack, it's kind of the opposite, isn't it? With the likes of Nonto. So they'll be looking to throw balls into the box, and you'll be looking to be a little more intricate. So we'll clash of styles. Farker and Wilder, a little bit of beef there between those two as well. Wilder had a dig at Sir Daniel when he was in charge because the Norwich City's bus turned up late for one of their games. We then went and beat him at Bramall Lane. So they had a little bit of a set too. So that could get interesting on the touchline. So lots and lots going on. Real up, absolute cracker of a game. And this is going to be a big indication because at the minute, these two are absolutely nailed on to be top 6. I'd say there's very strong chance they'll be top 3. And it wouldn't be a massive surprise to see both of them go up automatically. I still make Leeds the title favourites. The bookies make them the title favourites. I still think it's there to be won. They're not quite clicking at the minute, but still performing really well as far as points are concerned. So when it hits the groove, I think Leeds will be the ones and they will end up winning it, maybe with a little bit to spare. But Sheffield United, with that 1-11, a tough nut to crack. As you said, 6 clean sheets on the spin at the moment. But yeah, my main bet, strong bet for this one would be unders.
When it hits the Gruev, I think would have been a better way of saying it. But DM Punk is a big fan of the tune in today. Yes, I am dressing up tonight, Nigel. It's a suit. The suit does come out tonight. Probably yellow tie, I reckon. I'm not sure yet. It didn't come out too often.
It's transfer deadline day.
Yeah, Arsenal under 4.5 goals, says Byron, this weekend. I really like Arsenal on the money line this weekend, I must say. I think they're a really safe piece. Whether they cover a handicap, I'm not sure, but I'd be surprised if Arsenal don't win. Darmstadt over goals. That is Bundesliga too. I might have a quick look at that before we go, J-Rod. But we are going to be looking at Bundesliga 1 tonight. There is a match between Borussia Dortmund and St Pauli. And Dortmund are the strong favourites here. I've got a feeling we might be potentially on opposing sides here a little bit, Jack, perhaps. St Pauli side, who have generally struggled. All 3 of their 4 goals have come in one game this season. Actually, Dortmund now minus 360, by the way. It's been a big move in for them today. St Pauli plus 850. And the goal line is between, 3.5 and 3.25 is what you're looking at here. St Pauli are not really involved in that many goal glut games. Dortmund are the opposite. What would be your bet on the game? I know we've got a parlay from you later, a 4-game parlay, by the way, just to excite everyone. And I know this match is part of the parlay. So what's your assessment on things at Signal Iduna Park?
Yeah. Dortmund are one of those sides for me that I can't be getting on board. They're generally that kind of price unless they're playing a Leipzig or a Leverkusen or a Munich, of course. So I just feel that they're so strong at home, but they just have that ability to really throw in a performance. They would worry backers who were on them at a similar price last time out against Bochum. Again, I say similar fare to St Pauli. Bochum went 2 up, didn't they? And it was getting a little bit hairy, but they ended up winning at 4-2. They won their last 2 home games 4-2, and you think they have got that firepower about them. And again, I always think these real super strong favourites after the international break, when a lot of their key and top players have been all around the globe, that does concern me a little bit. I think there's goals in it because I just think that Dortmund can concede and will concede. They are super strong at home. You look at their goals across their games at home so far this season, though, 22 goals in 4 home games, an average of 5.5. Last time out at home was in the Champions League. They beat Celtic 7-1. And I say St Pauli away, they've still conceded 12 in 4, so they're averaging 3. My play here would be a couple. If you want to go on a more traditional line, I'd actually play that over 3.5 goals at plus 133. I think there's scope in it because I just think generally how chaotic and how attacking Dortmund games are. And I think they might well concede. They should end up winning. Therefore, that should cross. I've been taking inspiration from Nigel Seeley and his king of overs that he's become. And also, there's a player that I like the look of as well, which is Jamie Beno Gittins, England under 21 international. It's kind of having a decent season so far. 4 goals in 8 appearances across the Bundesliga and Champions League, and he's plus 107 to have a shot on target. He's kind of dried up the last 3 games prior to the international break. He only played 90 minutes across 2 games for England under 21, so he's not been overextended. So I think plus 107 to have a shot on target against this St Pauli side, where Dortmund will dominate, is at a good price for an attacker there. He's plus 360 to score. But either of those two, depending on your risk aversion. But I think he's a player to look out for outside of the kind of the absolute obvious ones.
Yeah, I've just got some stats on St Pauli here. Second worst expected goals in the league. Only Union Berlin have a worse expected goals. But they're in the best 5 for expected goals against, that's a surprise. They only average 10.2 shots against per game, with only Union Berlin and Bayern Munich averaging fewer. So, you could argue, the fixture list has maybe been kind to them a little bit, and this is a different sort of game going to Dortmund. But St Pauli defensively are doing quite a few things kind of right. It's just offensively, I think that they're not offering much. So I quite like Dortmund to win to nil. Dortmund win to nil at plus 112, and it doesn't mean Dortmund aren't going to rack up the score, by the way. But the more I look at St Pauli, my concern is, are Dortmund going to be perhaps misfiring offensively or maybe sloppy defensively on the back of an international break? Like Rick Haley say, he thinks St Pauli will score. If Dortmund did put up a sloppy performance, it wouldn't entirely surprise me on a Friday night after the international break. Dortmund halftime, full time, says Giannetti. Dortmund minus 1.75, says the judge. That
a lot of love for Dortmund, probably, then, eh?
Yeah, there is a lot of love for Dortmund. A treble there. Monaco, Dortmund, Alaves on the money line, says NBC Comedy. And I don't think the bookies might be laughing there with that sort of treble. That looks good to me. Florence Nightingale, welcome in, Florence. Yeah, I will be very careful. Don't you worry. Indeed, we have some great characters in this channel. So yeah, you like the goals in there. I think Dortmund win to nil at plus 112 is worth looking at. I did look at the team total for Dortmund over 2.5 at plus 108. It is them to score 3 goals, but I'm always a bit wary about sides on the back of international breaks. On to the French game, Monaco against Lille. Monaco, for me, are one of the hardest teams to predict in the whole of Europe, and it happens to be in France. There was an article on an analytical article on Monaco that I read up during the international break about, and I still didn't understand it, what they're doing, what they're trying to do. I can't work out their style. This is a tough game to predict, in my personal opinion. I quite like Lille, but they've got a lot of injuries, Lille, heading into this game. You look at their injury list and suspensions as well. Monaco minus 118 now with Bet Rivers. You can see perhaps why there might be some interest here. The over line is set over 2.5 goals at minus 143. I can't get involved with Monaco games, certainly not after the international break on a Friday.
That's not very helpful, Steve.
Well, there is actually a shot on target bet, which I'm going to suggest in a minute, but on a player prop. But in the main markets here, Monaco for me, I've almost admitted defeat. That whenever I think they're going to do well, they struggle. When I think they're in a bad position, they rock up and get an easy win. So their mentality is completely different to mine. So fair enough, let them get on with it. But you might have a better take than me here, Monaco. I honestly don't think they're that great, but they keep getting the points. They're finding ways to get results. They seem to play well in periods of games.
Yeah, no, they are confusing. I've got nowhere near the grasp of the French league that you've got, and I was kind of obviously joking a little bit. And sometimes no bet's the best bet. We know that, don't we? But for here, I would say looking through the data, trying to get a read on it, and it is a muddle. It seems to be a little bit of a knot to try and untie. So it's a hard one. I picked out like a few stats that potentially try and help. The Lille have got a horrible record against Monaco. Haven't won any of their last 12 visits to Monaco, but 7 of them ended in draws. So a tie there. So it could be interesting. Potentially taking Lille on a plus handicap might be the way in there at minus 106. Goals seem to be likely, but also a real stat that's kind of stood out is that the same halftime result. Now you've got to try and work out what the halftime result's going to be. Has been replicated in 10 of the last 12 Lille away games. So you suggest if you think a side's going to get a strong start in this one, then it will stay the same throughout the second half. But for me, again, I've got just took the safe way out really, and I've gone with putting this game in that same game in that parlay at the end of the show. But a tough one. If absolutely pushed, given Lille's injury and suspension problems and what we've talked about there, I would go with Monaco at minus 118. That just gives me a slight sense of value given how strong they've been.
Bit surprised. There's quite a lot of love for Monaco in the chat here. Although Duncan Evans doesn't trust them, that Genepi reckons they're the best team in France at the minute. That's a very strong statement, Genepi. Interesting opinion. Judge likes Monaco versus Lens. That was a fixture a few weeks ago, but I'm guessing Lille he means there. Both teams to score in under 3.5. Interesting one.
Maybe we should just go and take a trip to Monaco and watch them live. Maybe that'll help us both unravel this one, Steve.
Well, tickets are cheap, but the rest of it won't be. Ming Chung reckons Monaco to win is the best bet. So, yeah, a fair bit of love for them. I'm just going to flag a player that I think is quite interesting for them is Dennis Zakaria. Shot on target here, plus 215 with Bet Rivers. Just looks a big price to me. When he shoots, he tends to be quite accurate, this guy. In fact, he's never the worst bet for an anytime scorer. He's one of those players who I've noticed when he fires on goal, he waits for a really good opportunity. And this guy can score absolute belters. And he's also quite good in the air. Interesting dual threat of a player. Will often play in the more of a sitting role for Monaco. But look, their formation can change throughout the whole game. They even did a Brazilian box a few weeks ago. I can't make head or tail of them, Jack. They must be so hard to prepare against. Give me a team and a manager who plays the same way all the time, every game. That's what I want from a betting perspective. I don't want a team that mixes it up and just confuses the hell out of me. And that's what Monaco do. From a Lille perspective, quite like what Lille are doing, but they are missing players tonight. I think they've just lost a guy for the whole season due to an ACL. I think it's Thiago Santos, the Portuguese international. Benjamin Andre suspended. He's normally good for a card for those who like the card betting, so he's ruled out. And then there's a few long-term injuries like of Ismaili Haraldsson. Ethan Mbappe ruled out as a big casualty. So, yeah, tough game for that one. There's a match that I think we both might align on this one, Jack. We've got a feeling about it. In La Liga, Alaves against Valladolid. Now, Alaves, when I first saw this, I was thinking, minus 152 on Alaves. That doesn't sound overly appealing. And then I looked into the metrics. I looked into the data. And I'm like, do you know what? These guys should be shorter. And they have been backed in now to minus 165 on the money line to beat Valladolid. I certainly am interested in on the money line at that price. Add them to parlays. The minus 0.75 Asian handicaps at minus 127. I think this is a home win because I think Valladolid are awful. I think they're a La Liga 2 sort of team. Their away record is abysmal. Played 4, lost 4, conceded a lot of goals. Alaves have lost the last 3, but let's give them a little bit of slack. 2 of those defeats were against Real Madrid, 3-2, and then Barcelona. So that's not terrible. Their home record's not bad. I just think they're the better team, really, Alaves, for me. I think the best question here is, how bad are Valladolid? And their metrics are shocking. They're one at both ends of the field. They rank really low. They've not had a win yet. There's actually quite a few teams in La Liga who've not had a win yet, which is remarkable after 4 or 5 rounds. It's got to be Alaves for me. I can't get beyond them, and I don't think the price is that bad, Jack. What do you reckon?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do agree with you. And I looked at that today and went, I can't be backing Alaves at that kind of price until you then realise, Valladolid, and you're like, I have to. Uh, my concern is I take on the Asian line here. Would be how many goals can they score, or how comfortable can they win by? So to go Asian -1, obviously we need 2 for that to cash. The line is set, isn't it, at minus 0.75, but that's -127. So I'd, I'd probably push it to the -1 and take the chance that if it don't quite pan out, I'll get a push. I think they win tonight, so that would be nothing lost. And so I think they can get the better of this terrible terrible side that they're playing against. And the stats add up. And I said I plotted it into my tracker, and it threw up what the implied odds for Alaves winning, and they were a lot stronger favourites than what we're seeing here. So on that basis, if you're taking that alone plus what we think, then that actually does look like a little bit of value. So maybe it's just a little bit of a preconceived idea that backing Alaves at that price doesn't sit right. Take that out, take the kind of emotion out of it, look at the bare numbers, and we've got to play. So yeah, my lean on it would be a -1 Asian handicap.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of agreement here. Giuseppe Valladolid, an awful team. -1 Asian handicap feels like a free hit, and I do agree. He says he's seen a lot of them, and they are very bad, and they are. I mean, I think Las Palmas are one of the worst teams in La Liga, right? And I've said that for a long time. I think Valladolid are worse. I really do. I can't stress how poor they've been. Yes, they were away to Real Madrid and Barcelona, but that was early on. That was August. They had a chance to rebound from that, and they've looked even worse against some of these average teams. And Alaves, it's just they should really. It's got to be my best bet of the day. -0.75 Asian handicap on Alaves, -127. Can't see beyond them winning the game tonight. I never thought I'd be saying this, but the more I've looked into it during the day, I just can't get beyond them.
They're beating, they beat. You talked about Las Palmas, and you'd say that's probably a good equivalent. That's the one I looked at and went, oh, they beat them 2-0. So that's decent scope. They beat Sevilla 2-1 after that. And as you say there, they did lose to Barcelona and Real Madrid. The only defeat was that Getafe one, which would be a little bit of a sticking point, but that was away from home. So, again, I kind of wrote that one off, and I think they've got enough here to get the win. And as I say, I completely agree. I think it is a free swing, really, on a -1 that we can get a more comfortable win than that. And at plus money, I like that all day long.
Jack's Friday parlay is going to be J-Rod. Let me just answer J-Rod. Alaves -0.75, not 2.25. Although if they covered that line, I wouldn't be completely shocked, to be fair. 3-0 could be on the cards. But yes, your parlay, it's a 4-leg parlay here, Jack. We're involving also the Newport game here. So I might as well put that on the screen. Newport County against Chesterfield in League 2 in England tonight. Talk us through your 4 legs and we're hoping for a few goals here, aren't we?
Yeah, I put something together. So people, the feedback from the parlay has been pretty strong. So I thought we'd put one in again Friday night. I looked to get some fun tokens for the weekend and spread across, obviously, our 2 shows that are gone official. They're on the channel right now, so you can watch those. So I've gone over goals, all games later on today. So we've got a couple of hours to for these to kick off. Belgium, Germany, France, and England are Wales actually would be officially the title, but in the English League 2 they're all simply over 2.5 goals. They're quite prohibitive odds, so I've put them together in the parlay. It pays plus 505, so a nice little odds there for us to get in and say cheer some goals in on a Friday night. Pretty simply, it's the Anderlecht game in Belgium. This one just looks like they're ripe for the taking as far as goals are concerned. Again, over 2.5 goals in that one. They're taking on a side that are rock bottom of the league. They conceded 27 goals across their first 10 games. And, we talked about a dreadful side. These certainly are. When you look at it, their last few games, they drew 2-2 actually for the international break, but we don't care about that. That's a bad cash. But prior to that, they lost 5-0, 3-0 and 3-0. So see where their form is. And as far as Anderlecht's concerned, they beat 3-0. And of course, if you remember rightly, one of the last shows we were on, I actually tipped an Anderlecht unders because it was against Real Sociedad. And there was 3 goals in the first half. So if they can do that against Sociedad away from home, they can do it against anyone. And so the last time these two sides met, it was in 2021, and Anderlecht won this particular fixture 7-0, and they won the reverse 4-2. So plenty of goals there. Dortmund, I think we've covered enough. Don't need to go into that one. And the same with Monaco. Really, I fancy goals in that. So both those two, the same bet, over 2.5 goals. And then just this Newport game against Chesterfield in League Two. Newport expect to struggle towards the bottom of the league. They're in a bit of a transitional period. If they can survive this season, I think they'll be pretty content with that. But that games just tend to have lots of goals, averaging 3.36 goals across the league campaign so far. 8 of their 11 have gone over 2.5 goals. All 5 at home have gone over 2.5 goals, averaging exactly 4 goals per game in that one. And Chesterfield started off relatively tight as far as goals concerned, but their last few have seen a lot. I watched them actually at the weekend where they snatched a very, very late equaliser. They gave a very late equaliser away from the penalty spot to draw 2-2. And that's their last 3 games have all ended 2-2. 6 of their 11 have gone over 2.5 goals. All of their last 4, 3 of the last 5 away from home, including their last 2. So goals on the horizon there for them, and those sides haven't had an international break, so it'll be a case of business as usual for them. So there you go. Put those 4 together, over 2.5 goals. Very, very simple. Paying plus 505.
Yeah, that's Monaco against Lille in France. That's Dortmund against St Pauli in Germany. Chesterfield in League Two, and we go to Belgium for the 4th leg. Beer shot against Anderlecht. Simple, over 2.5 goals. 4-leg parlay. That's Jack Wright's Friday parlay of the week. Before we go, there is 2 baseball games, which I've got to remind people about tonight in the playoffs. The Dodgers at the Mets. Dodgers are absolutely, when they're winning games, they're winning them big, aren't they? They're at minus 139 here. The Mets are the dog at plus 118. The run line has gone up to 7.5 now here. And then the later kickoff is the Yankees at the Guardians. Yankees are the favorites. This is a much more close game, minus 122. The Guardians plus 104. And the runs line here now is 8, possibly on the back of last night's crazy. I watched this game last night because obviously we did this. Shout out to Jimmy Ott, by the way, who bagged a load of winners on the live show yesterday. Brilliant debut from Jimmy in the NFL and the MLB. But I watched this game, the Yankees against the Guardians, and I was following it on the exchanges, and both teams traded at less 1,000 or less, minus 1,000. Like, wow. I couldn't believe it. Like, at one point, it looked like the Guardians were an absolute lock to win the game. And then bang, bang, the Yankees rocked it with a couple of home runs. And then it looked like it was game over. And this crazy finish where the Guardians came back to win it, I was very much entertained. And I can imagine there was a lot of money placed in running live with the bets. What's your best bet today on the baseball, guys? Shakespeare reckons Yankees pitcher Lewis Gill over 2.5 walks at plus 140. So a player prop bet there for Shakespeare. Shakespeare was loving that result yesterday with the Guardians winning. I know he put on the comments that he had a decent double winner thanks to that. Gianeppi's got a Spanish parlay today or for the weekend. Alaves -1 and Bilbao -1. I like Athletic Club de Bilbao with this weekend as well. And Espanyol... anyway, there it is on the screen. I don't want to read it out entirely. Plus 460 there. What's the weather going to be like for the NFL game? Heard it's windy. Yes, it is going to be windy, actually. I've seen the forecast on Sunday. So, the Jags are in action again, aren't they? I think this weekend, is it?
They are.
Something like that, anyway. Yeah, it's Byron's parlayed Cleveland... to be leading after the first 5 innings. But yeah, I couldn't believe that baseball last night. I was like, wow. So,
mate, you really are loving that baseball. It's the 3rd time you mentioned it on the show.
I know. Yeah.
I'm going to get you a mitt. I'm going to get you a mitt for Christmas.
I'd like to give it a go. I play cricket, and I'd love to give. I reckon the feeling of hitting.
Mate, you'd be with your ankle. Your ankle, you'd be no good on the mound. Sliding in.
I'm just here for I'm looking to hit a big home run. I just walk
you've got to run round. Oh, right. You're going to
walk round. I just think the feeling of hitting a home run must be amazing. Like Bosch. and the crowd go absolutely nuts. They go absolutely
go
crazy
wild.
when it happens. But
I would like to have a go. I was a little bit of a pinch hitter as far as cricket was concerned, so I'd like to have a go at that because they make it look really hard, and I'm sure it is.
Right. So best bet, Jack, of the day. I mean, for me, it's got to be Alaves.
Oh, it's a glove. Sorry,
on that
Shakespeare.
minus
Glove.
0.75. Yeah, Alaves minus 0.75 Asian handicap for me. What's your best bet of the day?
So I was too busy reading the messages. Do you know what? I was going to go Alaves. I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to go over 3.5 goals in the Dortmund game. I did have a bet in Denmark, but I just checked it, and the price has been smashed to pieces, so I won't even go there.
New England, the Jags. That's it. New England are really poor.
Yeah, they're in all trouble
this year. Yeah, they're awful. That could be one of the worst NFL games around, actually, because the Jags aren't that great either, are they? But anyway, yeah. Best of luck, everyone. Whatever you're taking today and the weekend, both the shows are up. Premier League show was out yesterday. If you've not watched it already, with Jack Wright and Nigel and Dan Roebuck, and the European show is out as well. Myself, James Eastham, and Dan James. I think he's only lost one of his last 12 picks advised on the show, and that was a crazy bad beat with Juventus. So you know what's coming your way this weekend. Loads of winners, hopefully. But yeah, if you're new to the channel, do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. That'd be very much appreciated. You can subscribe to the newsletter as well. Don't worry, there will be a newsletter coming out at some stage. Don't know when.
We need to get Shakespeare to write it.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
He can bang it out, no problem.
And a massive week next week on Betting Weekly Live. We've got the Champions League back. We've got Europa League. I can tell you now the boss Nigel Seeley's booked in for one of the days. And you are down, I think, as well. I'll have to check the schedule, but there's going to be a massive week Betting Weekly Live. 11 a.m. Eastern time every single day starting on Monday. But anyway, that will do for this one. Best of luck. Stay safe, everyone. And remember to gamble responsibly. Jack, it was a pleasure as always. See you next time.
I always love these. Thank you. Thanks, everyone in the comments. They make it what it is. So keep it going. And so, yeah, subscribe to the channel. See you all later. Have a great weekend.
Take care. Goodbye.